I do think that being president is the chief executive officer. But I think you have to be able to manage and run the bureaucracy. You've got to pick good people, certainly, but you have to hold them accountable every single day. We've seen the results of a president who, frankly, failed at that. And we saw the failures. We saw the failures along the Gulf Coast with, people who were totally incompetent and insensitive, failing to help our fellow Americans.
How did my son die? Why did Hillary choose what she chose? How come she made such bad decisions that my son and the ambassador and the other two guys got killed? There's a whole bunch of questions I have. I need her to make some answers.
This happened 3 years ago, and you're still not sure what happened that night to your son?
3 years ago, Hillary promised that when I went to the casket ceremony in Washington, she promised she would get back to me and tell me what happened. She has not called me, she has not contacted me, she has not given me any information except to tell me that I am not a member of the immediate family and I do not need to know.
You have to hold them accountable every single day. People who were totally incompetent and insensitive, failing to help our fellow Americans.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
When you heard that, what went through your mind?
She's lying. She's absolutely lying. She told me something entirely different at the casket ceremony. She said it was the cause of the video, and that she would get back to me and tell me what happened with my son.
Former Navy SEALs Ty Woods and Glenn Doherty were killed on the roof of the CIA annex. Woods' father met with Mrs. Clinton and took notes about what she promised him.
And let me just read what's written down here. It says, I gave Hillary a hug and shook her hand, and she said, we are going to have the filmmaker arrested who was responsible for the death of your son.
I saw on TV the bloody fingerprints on the walls over there. I asked specifically, are those my son's fingerprints crawling down the wall, the bloody fingerprints? Nobody ever got back to me on that. Are those his fingerprints? Were those his fingerprints? What happened? Somebody's got to tell me.
That mortar strike on the CIA annex is the smoking gun evidence that it was premeditated terrorism. 3 mortars struck the CIA in under 90 seconds, killing Woods and Doherty, and they were fired from more than a half-mile away. It was a professional hit that required training and planning. And yet Mrs. Clinton told the survivors, the family members, that she believed it was a video when her own records now show that she didn't believe a video had any connection to that terrorist attack, Abby.
You're looking at an email you sent to your family. Here's what you said. At 11 o'clock that night, approximately 1 hour after you told the American people it was a video, you say to your family, 2 officers were killed today in Benghazi by an Al-Qaeda-like group. You tell the American people one thing, you tell your family an entirely different story. Also, on the night of the attack, you had a call with the president of Libya. Here's what you said to him. Ansar al-Sharia is claiming responsibility. It's interesting, Mr. Katala, one of the guys arrested and charged, actually belonged to that group. And finally, and most significantly, the next day, within 24 hours, you had a conversation with the Egyptian Prime Minister. You told him this: we know the attack in Libya had nothing to do with the film. It was a planned attack, not a protest. State Department experts knew the truth. You knew the truth, but that's not what the American people got. And again, the American people want to know why. Why didn't you tell the American people exactly what you told the Egyptian Prime Minister?
Well, I think if you look at the statement that I made, I clearly said that it was an attack, and I also said that there were some who tried to justify it on the basis of the video, Congressman. And I think
but real quick, calling it an attack is like saying the sky's blue. Of course, it was an attack.
Well,
we want to know the truth. The statement you sent out was a statement on Benghazi, and you say vicious behavior as a response to inflammatory material on the internet. If that's not pointing as the motive of being a video, I don't know what is.
You have to hold them accountable every single day. We've seen the results of a president who, frankly, failed at that. And we saw the failures. We saw the failures along the Gulf Coast with, people who were totally incompetent and insensitive, failing to help our fellow Americans.